Tonight on the Boland Report, Donald Trump is released from hospital after contracting COVID-19. Deadly floods hits France and Italy. The latest COVID updates and more on the Boland Report for Monday, October the 5th, 2020. Good evening. Welcome to the Boland Report. President Donald Trump has left the hospital 3 days after being admitted with COVID-19, vowing to be back on the campaign trail soon. He flew for a short trip back to the White House on the presidential helicopter Marine One. Feeling really good, Mr. Trump tweeted earlier. Don't be afraid of COVID. Don't let it dominate your life. More than 7.4 million COVID cases have been recorded in the United States of America. The virus is killing nearly 210,000 Americans. Question remains over the seriousness of Trump's illness after the weakness of conflicting statements. The true scale of the outbreak at the White House remains unclear. Wearing a Navy business suit, tie, and mask, Mr. Trump walked out of the Walter Reed National Military Medical Center in the Washington, D.C. suburb on Monday evening, pumping his fist. Thank you everyone so much, everyone, he said, ignoring questions from the media, including one reporter who asked, "Are you a super spreader, Mr. President?" Following the short helicopter ride, Mr. Trump was pictured alone on the Truman balcony at the White House. He's removed his protective face mask before giving a thumbs up and a military-style salute. But shortly before leaving the hospital, the president tweeted, "I will be back on the campaign trail soon. The fake news only shows the fake polls." Mr. Trump's diagnosis has upended his campaign for his second term in office less than a month before the Republican president faced Democratic challenger Joe Biden in the White House election. Telling Americans not to fear the disease, Mr. Trump added, we have developed under the Trump administration some really great drugs and knowledge. I feel better than I did 20 years ago. Speaking to reporters on Monday, the president doctor avoided detail on his case, on his care, but said he was doing well and would receive another dose of remdesivir before being discharged. The president's discharge comes as more cases have been reported among the White House staff, including the presidential press secretary. At least 12 people close to Mr. Trump has now tested positive, as well as several junior staff members. Storm Alex has destroyed dozens of houses and washed away roads in the Montreal border region near Nice. Coastal areas on the French River were devastated, with long stretches of beaches littered with storm debris. Meanwhile, rescue workers stepped up their search effort amidst fears that 20 people were missing. On Monday, French officials said that 3 more bodies have been found in villages north of Nice, bringing the death toll in the country to 4. At least 3 people had been killed in Italy. Nice and the surrounding area saw almost a year's worth of rainfall in less than 12 hours of the weekend. Storm Alex, which brought fierce winds and torrential rain, then moved onto northern Italy, where record rainfall has been seen. In France, around 1,000 firefighters were deployed, along with helicopter and soldiers, to the Alpes Maritime region. A search is underway for 8 people who were seen being dragged away by the floodwater. Those include 2 firefighters whose vehicles were washed away when a road collapsed near the village of St. Martin Vima, which was completely cut off by the storm. In a number of French villages along the border, landslides cover the roads and buildings in the mud, and cars were left behind in Surrey. "My 3-story house is in the river," Sandra, 62, told AFP News Agency. "All I have left is a tiny piece of wall and a door." In total, firefighters have rescued more than 500 people in the Alpes Maritimes, with around still needing to be evacuated. Rain had declared the region a natural disaster zone, and it's announced on Monday that Presidential Emmanuel Macron would visit the area. Meanwhile, flooding in the northwestern Italy was described as official as hysteria hit. The Piedmont region saw levels of rain not recorded since 1958, with one village hit by a record 630 millimeters in just 24 hours. Wow. In the rest of Brandon, several villages were cut off after rains made the roads impassable. The situation there was described as extremely critical by officials. Power outage has hit villages on both sides of the border, and about 150,000 homes, or 10,500 homes, were left without electricity on Sunday, the French energy official said. Landline and some mobile services had also been affected, leading fears that more people are missing. Far-right group becomes LGBTQ trend online. The trend is part of an effort to drown out posts and content related to a far-right anti-immigration group of the same name. Actors, artists, and the Canadian Armed Forces among those people who have shared supportive pictures. The Proud Boys group has denied being a homophobic organization. Since the beginning of last week, the term Proud Boys have been tweeted more. The majority of them has been posted since October 1st. That day, former Star Trek actor and LGBT rights activist George Tuck suggested on Twitter that gay guys should use the hashtag to share photos of themselves making out with each other or doing the very gay things. His tweet also referenced to a similar campaign by Korean pop star K-pop fans launched earlier this year in support of the Black Lives Matter movement. Twitter users flooded social media with photos of Korean musicians with the hashtag White Lives Matter and All Lives Matter tags, which has been used online by people as Matter movement. Other people of the latest Proud Boy trend has included Bobby Burke, the host of the Netflix show Queer Eye. When we come back, the latest on the COVID updates, including the updates, we will be right back. Welcome back to the show. Got a whole bunch of updates. 1 in 10 nation said at a special meeting of WHO leaders. A top official said that the estimate meant that the vast majority of the world remained at risk. Just over 35 million people have been confirmed as being infected with the coronavirus. WHO estimated put the true figure closer to 800 million. Experts have long said the real numbers of cases would exceed those confirmed. WHO is meeting at the headquarters in Geneva, Switzerland, to discuss the global response to the pandemic. 10 months on, the crisis countries are seeing second waves after easing restrictions. In some cases, the numbers are even higher. The estimate that 10% of the world's population have contracted the virus comes from Mike Ryan, the executive director of the WHO Health Emergency Program. This varies depending on country, varies from urban to rural, varies between groups, he said. But what it does mean that the vast majority of the world remains at risk. We know that the pandemic will continue to evolve, but we also know that we have the tools to work to suppress transmission and save lives right now, and they're at our disposal. Calling for solidarity and firm leadership from country, WHO General Tiba said that there's been marked difference in the number of cases around the world being infected by this virus. We must remember, this is an uneven pandemic. 10 countries account for the 70% of all reported cases. University. After the US, India and Brazil has seen the most infected. Action now can be prevented to prevent the need for immediate comprehensive lockdown in the Republic of Ireland, the Irish Prime Minister has said. In a televised address, he confirmed that levels of restrictions will be imposed nationwide from Wednesday. This move rejects a recommendation by a public health expert to impose the strictest level 5 measures. Now, we can stop the need to go further with introducing level 4 and 5 restrictions to continue. The Prime Minister said this week risks hundreds of thousands of jobs. The challenge for the government at this stage, he added, will be effective as possible in how it's deal with COVID-19. To move to level Deputy Prime Minister Leo told the RTE the government did not think that the recommendation had been thought through properly. Level 3 means that there will be now tighter limitation on gatherings and people will be advised to work from home unless really necessary. It also means that sporting events in the Republic of Ireland will be played behind closed doors, with only professional or elite sporting activity. Mr. Martin said that the country level 5 system allows the government to have flexible and appropriate response to new trends. However, he said that giving everyone a fair opportunity to plan and respond. Ontario Network Community and Commercial Lab Hospital has processed more than 38,000 novel coronavirus test samples on Sunday, the ministry responded. The goal is to do 50,000 tests a day, but there's a massive backlog. The province is looking for alternate ways of expanding the test. Supply in Ontario for COVID testing has increased from 12,000 tests a day in mid-March to 45,000 tests in less than 6 months. That's a huge undertaking. Demand has outstripped supply. At the end of September, some pharmacies in Ontario began offering COVID tests to people who are symptom-free on an appointment-only basis. Ontario is sending pharmacy swabs to California for processing. Swabs from COVID-19 tests are being done at an Ontario pharmacy are being sent to a lab in California for analysis before being shipped back to Canada. Ontario is dealing with a severe backlog of coronavirus tests during the second wave of the pandemic. According to Ontario Ministry of Health, this backlog of tests was 68,000 this past weekend. Dozens of tests have been doing testing since September 25th, and the specimens collected are being shipped to Quest Diagnosis infectious disease labs in Southern California, said Isaac Goja, the CEO in Command Lab. ICL is a Canadian company that works as a broker between collection sites such as the tests being done, both in Canada and internationally. We've gone from a reasonable capacity to a massive demand. This is a responsible step, Ghosh said. When we come back, the latest global news headlines, as well as some closing. We'll be right back. trial that concluded. Edmonton on Friday, being fifth. My baby, our rocks, and amazing, so happy and full of. She was also my best friend. In the area of 35th Street and on the scene just after 11 p.m. She was dead upon arrival. Homicide detective information to come forward. A vigil night. In her household, she lived with her 4 brothers and sisters, aged 3 to 14. Lovely referred to it. The city would provide Sierra and her other children with more opportunity for a better life than their small hometown can provide. Sierra, who often went by her nickname Brownie and Che, loved music, drawing, watching anime, skateboarding, or riding around on her BMX. She had played soccer since she was a young girl and always looked forward to family camping trip. The British Prime Minister Boris Johnson saw on Monday to play down a failure in the England COVID-19 testing data system that delayed 15,000 results, saying that the much higher updated figure were more in line with forecasts of the outbreak spread. But the glitch is likely to cast doubt over the Johnson handling the coronavirus pandemic. His Conservative government response has been cast by political opponents as slow, poorly organized, and confusing. Authority reported a jump in daily COVID-19 to a record of 22,000, nearly 23,000, after saying a technical issue had meant that thousands of tests resulted has not been transferred in the computer system on time, including contact tracers. The intercept that we are seeing in cases really short of the speaking of reporters. And really reflect where we thought they were, where disease were likely to go. So I think those numbers are realistic, said Johnson, who was hospitalized with a serious case of COVID in the spring. Health Secretary Matt Hancock told Parliament that tech issues had not been resolved yet. This incident should never have happened, he said. Johnson, who earlier this year promised a world-beating test and trace system, had more recently said there had been a misstep, that the government has been confronted with the biggest health crisis, Spanish flu outbreak. The Labour Party health critic blasted the government in a statement, saying that the missing The data published on Monday showed there were 12,500 new positive cases of COVID-19 test results, suggesting there's an upward trend of cases. WNews When we come back, we will have the latest news the rest of the news updates for the day. James Bond film, a person familiar situation. The 19 lockdowns restrictions started to ease. 7,482 people across 787 venues in the U.S., British, and Central Europe. The release of the new James Bond movie, No Time to Die, was pushed into next year on Friday, crushing hopes for a 2020 industry rebound as rising rate of coronavirus prompts a new restriction to keep viewers away. The British Sunday Times said the London listed company has written to Prime Minister down to warn that the industry is becoming invincible. He warned the investor on September 24 that it might need to raise more money if his sites were forced to shut again after a swing to a 1.64 billion US first half loss. Disappointing. Crowds has been thin. Small and mid-sized theaters companies have said they might not survive the impact of the pandemic. Cineware said that viewers returned to watch Tenet, a Christopher Nolan spy thrill that became a test case for the wider industry when it became the schedule was torn up in March. The post-moment of movie Black Widow and Steven Spielberg's West Side Story gives the Supreme Court returned for the first time since liberal Justice Ruth Ginsburg's death, opened its first term as Senate Republicans seek to quickly confirm presidential Donald Trump conservative nominee runs through next June. Includes major cases including its last term ended in July. At least at the outset of the term, the cases are being argued as they were at the end. Ginsburg died on September to replace her, and asked to confirm her by November 3rd, a 6-3 conservative majority. Before the first argument began, Justin to Ginsburg, calling her a dear friend and a tragic colleague, and sent her condolences to her family and extended family and countless be held in the court. Both multi or